I remembered how it happened. Medium. She was a transvisionary. The flight, she said. She took on the wounds. Find the crashed plane is what we asked her. The plane never arrived. The superintendent said the plane never arrived. She led me to it. She was the geography. I traced the lines and I planted them over her body, and I could see the mine, the particular areas through which we should go. Turn the Philfot over and go in. The mandala, target, the triangle, map, the square behind. As I lay in the hospital bed, the walls, the room flooded. I was healed. The walls, they began to slide off, and I saw Claire of the Rustics looks out to sea. I see her there, swimming, smiling she appears, rusty red hair, salt-soaked eyes, and I wave to her. A little rain, a wisp of sleet touches her face, a season's mood changes, delivers poems from her sling of arrows complete, a mermaid costume, a beach, the countryside meets. Claire, will you be there to bathe in the summer this year? Louise, Margaret Pringle. The lines, the ancestral line, it was there. He took the picture, stored it below the scab, the mine. The penthouse blew up. It was the symbol of the unicorn. That was the find. The ancestral line was hidden in there. The Claire, it bled like a hemorrhage. The flight, she flew in, continued to live with him. In time, they had a child, Louise, Liz. The pirate, S. Oh, I see what he did here. I see, yeah. He said, that she was Jekyll and Miss Hyde. Right, there were pictures of black long hair and black attire, and then later white. Hair dyed white or black, who knows, but it was this idea of Robert Louis Stevenson, except Jekyll and Miss Hyde, I see. 18, it says here Lisa, another different name for her. Anna, Libby, Annie. Right. Okay, well, look, let's have a look. He's got here the psychiatrist. I don't know, we don't know whether she approached him or he approached, well, he wouldn't have approached her, I suppose. Perhaps her parents did. It's a year. 1897. Well, it says here, he's got he's just got a notation, number 10. And then, well, look, I'll just read out what he says, what he's written here in note form. I read the cards. Destiny. Right. She dealt them. I'd given them to her, the pack, and then I dealt them. I dealt half, she dealt half. I mixed them up, and then I asked her to, and she read them, and I read them, and it said Destiny. Made further notes, unframed, breaks loose. He falls from the hangman's rope. Odyssey starts. The rake of the Holy Grail referred to the rake of the DNA. Right, the molecules. And I'll turn the page and see. Okay, next is invitations to treat. Seems to be a reference to making a contract he's got. Right, and then he refers to a case here called Fisher and Bell, 1961. My God, that's a long time ago. Hey, Sergeant, well, I'll read on. It says here, invitation to treat, right, and that's it. Pharmaceutical Society. Okay, well, it seems a clue. Go on. And then here, oh, it's on the other side. The executor representative of a deceased debt has dominion over property that shows in action. Legal title, the indicia. It's an order, Sarge. Well, go on, will you? Go on. The indicia was signed at the same time, September, as a declaration of trust was created, brackets, Lawson and Lawson, close brackets, and therefore the equitable right of the Susan Hayward. It's a reference to a movie star in that era, isn't it? I don't know, I'll look it up, I'll check it. I'll check it on this old aged internet they've got here that they've left. This old machine Terminator type box they've got. Terminator type box? Why do you call it that, Superintendent? I don't know, it seems to be a termination. Perhaps that's the word I meant. Look, anyway, go on. It says here, a minor. Oh, I see, right. Seems to be a reference to directions in a court case. And at the same time, Parker applies, reference to another case, I suppose, to direct the defendant to pay Daniel. I see, Daniel in the lion's den for a debt to James Devine. It's got here all these references to these old names, people who must have existed 200,000 years ago. It's been that long. Oh, don't go on, I'll read the rest of it later. What's the next bit? History of Hove. Oh, I see. Right, and it says here, Princess Hotel, Queen's Gardens. Oh, here's a connection. Sarge, look. 30th of June, 1897, Annie Devine, while bathing in Hove, drowned. 18-year-old. Young lady, girl. But in 1897, I see that David de Pinna had bought the Princess Hotel. Right. Okay. Anything else, Sarge? Superintendent? Yeah, there's piles here. There's another reference to a verdict on Vichy. I see. Right. A reference to Napoleon. He declared that the Jews in France cannot but consider themselves Frenchmen in France, and they consider as equally sacred and honourable their bounden duty of defending their country. Right. But also here it says that the French Revolution brought in equality for the Jews in France, but it had originally been brought in by the bishop under Louis XVI and Antoinette in 1897. All right, go on. Please find enclosed letter in reply to yours. Diagrams again, Your Honour. Diagrams. Call me Your Honour. I'm the sergeant. I'm just being sarcastic, Sergeant. Got here a diagram anyway. It's got here. Right. References to sex, Philfot, secret safe, opens, flooded. Inside. Joan fixes. Right, then another one. Another letter here saying it's a reference to the diamonds and jewellery found in a family in 17 revolutionaries. Let's see. Line. Pictures of 3 women dancing. See? Another reference. Swine, the crime. Dauphin. Alright, well that's those pieces fixed, and another page in the book, book 1 of the archives. It's right. Right, okay, well, might as well have a look at the next lot. Turn it over. It's numbered 1. The zone it's got here. These are all notes of this psychiatrist. Dead to the world, a lady of the lake, floating, dead woman, a picture. And now there's a tape here. It's been enclosed. We'll play it quickly. Quick, put it in there. You will be shaped into immortality. That will be your reward. But first you've got to prove. But you will be shaped into immortality. To death. Till death do us join. You've got to prove. Geoffrey? Yes, what is it? I did. Do you remember? When we were first married. This is a reference to a woman. He's talking to a woman named, it says here, Miragold. Oh, don't talk over the tape. Switch it on again, please. All right, well, there's a translation here. You mean it was scrambled? Yes, it was scrambled. It was in silence. We tuned into the silent tone, and now we've translated. All right, well, what does it say? Read it out. All right, Miragold raps him on the knuckles. Says, I don't mean that, you fool. Quick pause, sign. Don't you think of anything else? And then Geoffrey says, you lot created it as an obsession to the world. There's a link, Sarge, the obsession before to which he referred. Well, go on anyway. All right, I'll read it. An obsession to the world, so now you'll have to put up with it. And Miragold replies, he's got a note here, hands on her hips. Hands on her hips. You don't think, there's a bit of a change there, Sarge. You don't think he's actually seeing her now, do you? Sounds like her. And she says, I don't have to put up with anything. Right. I'll switch it off. I can't make head or tail of it. But never mind, don't worry. There's no problem there. Because it's all just fragmented archives that we've found after 200,000 years, my God. No, another reference, Sarge. Block letters, Suzanne. Was Emily, brackets in a coffin. Right. Well, God knows what that means. This stuff's starting to get to me. Coughing now. We'll take another drink, Sarge. Quick, stop, take another drink, and we'll carry on. One of these things here. Right, okay. Is that the ship coming? Yeah, it's bringing the extra... Oh, here's Sarge. I found this reference to Shreber's case. Yeah. It says here volume 12. It's got brackets 1911 to 1913, close brackets. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Translated, it's got from the German. Alright. Oh, I see. In collaboration with Anna Freud, yeah. That's it. Okay, alright. The ship's berthing. Yeah. No more, God, no more, please, no more torture by the script. Please, God, what's the Grail? I see the Grail, I can see it, it's over. Galahad, please rise to immortality. Take off the rocket, take off, leave. The heavens, immortality, no more. I observed the bones of the brain, the cracks in the wall of the head, the forehead, levels of a triangle. There were 12 gave way, melted. Scaffolding, internal scaffolding, began to fall, obliterated, disintegrate, to dissolve. The terrible, awesome jail she had built inside of them. All the prisoners, Errol, Magdalene, noise outside. I heard it again. They were going. Thank God for that. Yes, all 12. Joan being crucified, staked, witches. Yes, tried, executed by the executive of the intellect, the government that had tried to overthrow God with man's ideas, an agent in his own betrayal, and the Lucifer. The pellets of thoughts rained down from the pirate machine, and they were positive. They filtered out the negative from the terrain, the land, across the soul, like aircraft strafing, burning, killing, maiming. I had seen the transvisionary contained, taken on a map of cordoned off former cells and prisoners and murdered of the world by roles they had played in a day-to-day buildings they lived in attempts to forlornly, frantically position themselves for success, in inverted commas, as defined by the way of the modern New World country, the order which had partially taken hold of this man, but disintegrated, incarcerated, buried self in a Beckett-like triangle, stuck, incarcerated in a rock. We had found he had clutched a live script as the sirens arrived, and he rose up from the slab, walked from the mausoleum of the dead we had found in this era of 2045. The end. Click. The end. Peace reigns over the green foliage, forests, the hills. Da 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 da. Song of India. The script squeezed out of the tumour. The tumour? What do you mean, Superintendent? Oh, you see all this muck, this horrible stuff came out of the tumour. What? Oh, it's a mythological term. In historical mythology, the tumour represented an illness, like Vulcan. You remember Vulcan in Greek mythology, or was it Roman? That term is used in this diary to describe the work that he had to do, the story he had to find that was built in him. It was a gift. And you have to, well, Jack London said you have to dig out the story. That's what happened here. Carl Jung describes it all. If you bother to read anything, Sergeant, you stupid, bloody, ignorant idiot, come down here on our spaceship after all these years and find this dead body, this man on this planet on Earth. Look, and you see what we have. We have this diary that was squeezed out of this illness that's... I tell you, everybody has a burden that's depicted in these ancient drawings that causes them to stoop over. It's an illness until they face it and they refine it and they distill it, and if they don't, it turns on them and kills them. Like the snake, it's either poison or medicinal. A cure. A cure. That's what happens. Then there's a cure. It's through this vehicle. Oh, I see, Superintendent, I think. Right. So what you're saying is that he was stuck in this illness, in this hospitalization in which we found him. I see. Right, and he was a victim of this, a casualty of this scenario that's a pattern, a universal pattern in this area of the galaxy, this planet. Yes, well, I see, it's like role-playing. They're forced to be like patients. That's a concept that's deliberately imposed upon them through the... It's an unconscious archetype, a trait that's define and provide. And agents, they play roles to help the patients until the patients turn round, you see, like that statue, for example, turned round and finds the what we call the lost world, which is their gift, their story that's buried in their, quote, tumour, unquote, and has to be found. That's what illness is. It's their failure to go on their destiny, on the road to find this gift and refine it. Until they do, they're victims and patients in hospitals, and they have to find themselves subjecting themselves to agents, you see, unscrupulous, unethical lawyers and doctors, etc., politicians who exploit them and play roles in their lives. When they find this gift, they're self-empowered. They're self-empowered, and they don't need the agents, you see? Yes. They have the right measurements. I see, yes. They killed Christ, you see, this body, this Christ-like body, this corpse, this body we found, because he was exposing this pattern, this scenario. He would have helped all these people. They would have been cured of their illnesses, but they have to do it themselves. They killed this body by framing him in a false charge, deeming him wrong, you see? That's what was done, and they executed him. That's my guess. You seem to see that he had this diary, but you see, that way they control others and boost. Well, Freud, this man that was existing on this planet all these years ago before we found it, devastated and just travelling at a sort of a infinitesimal rate in the galaxy, lost, called in our libraries misnomer. Titanic is the word we call it. It was a body found because of he challenged this elite, this government order of people who were doing this. But it seems as if it's all a pattern that's deliberately imposed, like a maze, a puzzle, a game that you have to get out of which you have to get, Superintendent. All right, Sergeant. Okay, prepositions came last after the war in this dimension on this planet. I see. So when you empower yourself and go through this game and get to the other end and get the exit out, you've transferred the power back to yourself. That's right. And you can cure yourself. Yes, that's right. The power was transferred away from the individual by the agents in the game, but a successful participant can retransfer it back to himself. Lot 1. That's the metaphor for it on the game, on the board there, you see. It's an asset. Yes, I see. They called it the soul. I see. What caused the problem? Oh, Aristotle, that old devil. How did he do that? Well, it's a matter of construction. He invented the novel, and a beginning and a middle and end, and of course the game was, for this particular fellow, this patient, how to get out of that structure and express himself. You see, the novel, so-called, it was adopted from Aristotle's idea. As I said, it's the convention. It was imposed on him, deemed on him, but his gift, his manner in which he expressed himself was music, verse, episodical mini plays, little plays that you have heard here in his audio play, his diary audio play that we found. Well, it looks like he managed to expiate the rubbish, as you called it, that was within him, that was the muck, the sickness, the illness, as Carl Jung called it, the soul chained and imprisoned and battling to get out of this Aristotle. My God, you're the same, Sergeant. You can't speak either. No, well, I can't express myself in these conventional terms, these that have been imposed in the schools and the... Yes, but it's up to the initiate, the game player, to get out, to realise that and get out of this conventional straitjacket way of thinking and express himself in his soul's originality. You see what I'm saying? That's the way it is, Sergeant. You know, you ought to realise this, become conscious of your unconscious self, because it's, don't you realise, Sergeant, it's you who's come back in this bloody spaceship and found yourself. It was you who played the game. Remember, 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 remember. Like a purposeless void, just well, you know, everybody knows, an autopilot, moronic, automaton fool. But I had escaped. She's their director. A whisper, I heard it. In parallel time, always there. But what had happened is the film had cut in parallel time. But who was shooting it? Who was shooting? And then I realised it was she. She was shooting the film. She had come out of this awful brick wall of straitjacketed logic, had shattered. The power behind the wall, like a gusher, had absolutely pushed out the wall, blown out the bricks. And as if, well, I was convinced it was. There was an inner parallel space-time. This whole horrible dimension had been locked inside the inner stem of my cell. That was The image had been taken over by the blockage that had been adopted in my own head, my own inner cell. Then, after 7 years, she was trapped behind the plastic. She was trapped behind the plastic. Mary Cameron was their twin. She came down. Here. Here. On the map. Shot on the border. Through tunnels. St Mary's train. She's a singer. She said, I gave him his child. The film, the script. I wanted it dedicated. Instead, he spent his life with Italian and Venetian women. Beatrice. Master of the World. Jules Verne. Compass. Camera eye. The clock. A safe! It's a safe! Beamed into lounge rooms. Dealing cards. Interview with a vamp. This is a game of define and provide. First you shuffle the pack, then you take a card. A card page. Heard of that? It's a new concept. And read. A projector projects up lines. You read on a page, each card. A new game, the game of define and provide. A cardboard back page, which tells you a way to go. Over her belly, area ring, was a Caesarean birth, the king, the child, the queen. I noticed they were twins. That's why the Amazons, yes, they were. Of course. I see now, they x-rayed the painting out of my sight, the script. A film already filmed, made. It's already been filmed. Yes, inside. I see. The naval area, the Tibetan Everest idea of the navel of the world soul, the pirate. I see it's been speaking, the baby, the child's been speaking out before it has been heralded. Yes, while it's been coming, spirit has been entering in her stomach, and it's a vulva, her stomach, and it's been speaking. That's what it is. All right, it has to be said that this monster that emerged was obviously interpreted as me, and I must confess, I, as Robinson Crusoe on this island, thought these words. But I looked down the corridor of mirrors and up, as I was the surgeon doing the operation up her vulva and delivering the child, and I saw the narrow corridor of mirrors were expanding. They were concave and interlaced, if I can use that word. Shadows on the wall, lime green. Yes, the lemon-coloured area was flashing, a dynamo and a ricochet and a pilot light that was white flashed, beamed through her brain, her psyche, and an eclipse flashed. He united the poles, the universe of the world, as she rose and cried, "Yes, I!" As the rays of the silvery moon outside, I found this old fragment piece of work here. It said, "It was the beginning of time, it seemed, as I gazed down." Yes, the child I'd known since the beginning of time. He was my own, the child I'd never known, ever known, was ever known. That's what the child was called, that was born of the Amazonian world, somewhere in the beginning of time, at its beginning, at its end, where I found my soul. The notes were scrawled, as I looked at them at the end of this court case, on the table before me at the bar, and they said the face was stone. It knew no present feeling. No feeling had been known. And I lay her out on the couch and covered her with a blanket. Next to her was a note. She stirred. There was a flutter of an eyelid. It was Emily. The vein into which I had flown was a tunnel that was silver, and a silver cord had shown the way, an umbilical cord that connected the flight of my plane. I called it my flight, in inverted commas, up this tunnel into the universe, had propelled her out. And there she rose, and there was another note. I saw them all, Louise, Vera, all of them. They were there, Jan, and all who had helped me. You've heard them all. Mary Magdalena's, the eyes of the Amazon woman, Jan, was scraped of the oil, and they fluttered and opened and sucked down so quickly she'd not even been shocked, and she smiled and could only contemplate her late fate, her fate of late. I stood over the couch and I held the screwdriver. I was about to put up the painting, another painting, and screw it into the wall, and I heard the scream as the painting screamed behind the glass, and rammed the spear into the side of her soul. The spirit could not stand being imprisoned behind the glass, and crucified the screwdriver into the palms of her hand against the wall. I flung it down and I set her free. And she swam away, as if a fish, a skin diver, swam from me, and looked back and smiled, this Lorelei, and waved and said, "Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye, Emily, Louise, Mama, Anastasia, family, my tree." Da 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 da. The end. David Pringle died. It's a tombstone.